Life in Fiji, $500 budget, beautiful women and SX culture. No one talks about. They call it paradise. White sand beaches, blue water, palm trees waving in the wind. It all looks perfect. But what if I told you that behind that beauty, there's a side of Fiji no one talks about? A side that doesn't show up in travel ads or influencer videos. In this island nation, $500 can stretch far. Meals, rent, nightlife. But if you're a foreign man, your presence stretches even further. People notice you, follow you, make offers you didn't expect. And the deeper you go, the more you realize this isn't just a vacation spot. It's a place where beauty hides something much more complicated. Some say it's tempting. Others say it's dangerous. All I know is, this isn't the Fiji they show you. And once you see this version, it's hard to forget. So hold on, because the next few minutes might change how you look at paradise forever. When people think of Fiji, they imagine perfect sunsets, gentle waves, and smiling locals, welcoming you with flowers. And yes, all of that exists. But there's more, so much more, that no one prepares you for. What if I told you that $500 isn't just enough to survive in Fiji? It's enough to live. You can eat well, sleep comfortably, and even enjoy nights out without checking your wallet every 5 minutes. But money here does more than buy you comfort. It changes how people see you, especially if you're a foreign man. Things feel different. You get more attention than you're used to. Conversations that start off friendly sometimes turn strange. You don't know if someone is being kind or if they want something. Some nights, that attention feels flattering. Other nights, it feels like you're being studied. There's a quiet SX culture here that people know about, but never mention out loud. It's not loud, it's not wild, but it's there, sitting behind every smile, every glance, every offer that feels just a little too easy. And it's not just about sex, it's about survival. For many locals, especially women, attention from foreigners isn't just attraction, it's opportunity. Some use beauty like currency, while others are just caught between poverty and pressure. It's hard to tell who's in control. The truth is, Fiji looks like paradise, but under that calm surface is a web of emotions, money, and choices no one talks about. You won't see this side on a travel blog, but once you've seen it, you can't forget it. Fiji doesn't scream. It whispers. But once you hear it, you'll never unhear it. Fiji sits far out in the Pacific Ocean, a collection of over 300 islands, most of them small and untouched. It's the kind of place people dream about when they think of escape. The name Fiji brings to mind crystal clear waters, white sand beaches, palm trees, and luxury resorts. It's famous for being one of the world's top honeymoon destinations. Travel websites sell it as peaceful, romantic, and safe. Couples come here to celebrate love. Tourists come to disconnect and relax. From the outside, it looks like paradise, and in many ways, it is. But what you see in travel ads is just one side of Fiji. The other side is much quieter. It lives in the villages, in the small towns, behind the resorts, and away from the tourist beaches. This is where real life happens, and it's very different from the postcard version. Tourist Fiji and local Fiji are not the same. In the resorts, everything is polished: golf courses, spa treatments, smiling staff in matching uniforms. But just outside the resort gates, you'll find simple homes made of wood and metal sheets. You'll find families living together in small spaces, growing their own food, and sharing everything from clothes to chores. The gap between the two worlds is wide. In one, people pay hundreds of dollars for a single night's stay. In the other, a family survives on that amount for a whole month. This contrast is not always visible to tourists because Fiji is good at keeping the two sides separate. Visitors are guided toward the beaches, boat tours, and waterfalls. Most will never see what everyday life is really like for the average Fijian. And maybe that's the point. because once you see the reality, it's hard to pretend it doesn't exist. Fiji is deeply family-centered. The culture is based on respect for elders, taking care of each other, and sticking together through thick and thin. Families often live together in multi-generational homes, with grandparents, parents, and children all under one roof. Sharing is a way of life. If one person in the family has a job, they support everyone else. This system builds strong bonds, but it also puts pressure on the few people who are earning. Village life plays a big role in the culture too. Even those who move to the cities often keep close ties to their home villages. Traditional customs are still strong, especially outside the city areas. Ceremonies, gatherings, and community events are part of everyday life. Respect is everything. Respect for elders, for traditions, for the land. At the same time, Western influences have crept in, especially through media, tourism, and money. Young people grow up watching YouTube and Netflix, seeing how people live in America, Australia, and Europe. They start to want more freedom, more style, more independence. But there's a problem. Most can't afford that kind of life. Jobs are limited. Wages are low. Many people either leave Fiji to work overseas or find other ways to earn money. This is where things start to get complicated. Fiji looks like a simple paradise, but underneath the surface, it's shaped by economic pressure. People smile, but many are struggling. And when tourists come in with money, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. Tourists tip big. They buy drinks, meals, gifts. They can afford taxis, hotels, and nights out. In local eyes, they look rich, and often they are. This money creates quiet power. Foreigners may not realize it, but their presence changes the room. Their attention matters. A conversation with a tourist might turn into dinner. Dinner might turn into gifts. And from there, it can go anywhere. Sometimes it's innocent. Other times, it's part of something bigger, something unspoken. Because in a country where opportunity is rare, people learn to read every chance closely. This was shocking. Let me explain how a country known for romance is also quietly shaped by economics and silence. Fiji doesn't shout its problems. It keeps them behind warm smiles and polite welcomes. But if you stay long enough, you begin to notice the small things. The waitress who lingers too long, the taxi driver who offers special connections, the quiet stares from across the room. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, but it's there. Behind the postcard is a country doing its best to stay afloat. A place where traditions are strong, but hunger for change is growing. Where people are proud, but also tired. Where beauty is real, but it hides layers that most visitors never see. Fiji is still paradise, but it's not perfect. And maybe that's what makes it even more interesting. Because once you see both sides, the beaches and the back streets, the romance and the reality, you realize Fiji is not just a destination. It's a story, and it's not finished yet. The $500 lifestyle. Too good to be true? When I first heard that you could live in Fiji for just $500 a month, I didn't believe it. Fiji sounds expensive. After all, it's one of the top vacation spots in the world. It's where people go on honeymoons, where luxury resorts charge hundreds of dollars per night, and where the beaches look like they belong in a movie. But when you step away from the polished brochures and flashy websites, a different Fiji shows up. A version that's not only affordable, but surprisingly comfortable if you know how to live like a local. Let's break it down. The biggest cost in any country is usually rent. In Fiji, that depends on how you live. If you stay in a tourist resort, yes, it's expensive. But if you rent a local guest house or a small apartment outside of the tourist zones, you can easily find a place for $200 a month or even less. In small towns or outer islands, some families rent out rooms or little side homes on their property. These places might not have air conditioning or fast Wi-Fi, but they're clean, quiet, and come with something that's hard to find in big cities: peace. Next comes food. You'd think island life means expensive meals, but Fiji's local food scene is simple and cheap. At a roadside stall or market, you can grab a full plate of curry and rice or grilled fish with cassava for under $3. Fruit is everywhere: mangoes, bananas, papayas, and it's usually fresh and cheap, especially if it's in season. Bread is homemade. Fish is caught daily. If you want to cook for yourself, you can easily feed yourself for $1 to $2 per meal. And if you're lucky enough to befriend a local family, don't be surprised if they invite you to dinner and serve you like you're one of their own. Transportation is another area where you save big. Fiji doesn't have a flashy metro system or Uber, but it does have something better for your wallet: public minibuses and shared taxis. A short ride on a bus costs less than $1. Even cross-island trips can be done for under $10. Locals know the routes, and once you learn them too, you can go anywhere without breaking the bank. Taxis can be more expensive, but if you're sharing or going short distances, they're still very manageable. And then there's the barter system. In some villages and smaller towns, people still trade goods and services instead of using money. One traveler I met got a week's stay at a homestay in exchange for helping repair a broken roof. Another shared how he taught English to local kids for a few hours a week and in return got daily meals from the family. It's a system built on trust and community, not contracts and receipts. If you're kind, useful, and respectful, you'll often find more help than you expect. Now, let's talk about backpackers, digital nomads, and slow travelers. Many of them come to Fiji thinking it'll be a short stay, but they end up staying longer because they realize how far their money goes. One backpacker from Germany told me, "I planned for 2 weeks. It's been 5 months." A digital nomad from Canada said, "I was spending $2,000 a month in Bali. Here, I spend $450 and live better." The slow pace, friendly people, and easy lifestyle make it hard to leave once you settle in. But here's where it gets funny, and a little strange. I found myself trying to spend more money just to see if I could. I'd go out looking for things to buy, thinking maybe I'd treat myself. But everywhere I went, the prices were low. Meals were cheap, transport was almost free, and most things I wanted to do, like hiking, swimming, or just hanging out at the beach, cost nothing at all. My only problem was spending too little, until I realized I was being watched more than I thought. You see, when you're a foreigner living cheaply in Fiji, people notice. Locals notice. Other travelers notice. Some admire it. "Wow, you're living the real life," they'll say. Others find it strange. There's an unspoken idea that foreigners should spend more, act richer, or at least not live like locals. Some think you're being cheap. Others think you're trying to blend in too much. But the truth is, living on a budget in Fiji doesn't mean being poor. It means choosing a different kind of life. Of course, not everything is perfect. Some things do cost more, especially imported goods. If you're looking for fancy cheeses, fast internet, or imported snacks, you'll pay extra. Electronics are also expensive, and medical care in remote areas can be limited. But those things don't change the fact that your daily living expenses stay low. Another thing to keep in mind is that while $500 works in smaller towns and with a local lifestyle, it may not be enough if you want to party every night, stay in tourist zones, or chase luxury. But if you're open to living simply, connecting with locals and slowing down, that same $500 can give you more peace and comfort than 5-star hotels ever will. What I've learned is this: the $500 lifestyle in Fiji isn't too good to be true. It's just hidden behind the glossy surface. It's not in the tourist brochures or luxury packages. It's in the streets, the markets, the tiny rooms by the ocean. It's in the homes of people who don't have much, but are rich in hospitality. It's in the quiet mornings and the kind strangers. And it's in the decision to live more with less. Fiji teaches you that you don't need to spend a lot to feel alive. You just need to live differently. Forget the idea that a good life needs to be expensive. In Fiji, it's the opposite. The best parts are the ones that cost nothing: a walk along the beach, a plate of home-cooked food, a story shared under the stars. These moments stay with you long after the money is gone. So, yes, $500 a month in Fiji is real. And for some, it's not just a budget, it's freedom. Beautiful women. Why Fiji's beauty hits different. When you first land in Fiji, it's easy to notice the beauty of the place: clear skies, palm trees, calm ocean. But soon, your eyes are drawn to something else: the people. More specifically, the women. Fijian women have a kind of beauty that feels natural and effortless. They don't need heavy makeup or designer clothes to turn heads. Their skin glows. Under the sun, their smiles feel genuine, and there's a quiet confidence in how they move through the world. They're warm, strong, and graceful, all at once. This beauty isn't just physical, it's also cultural. Fiji is a unique mix of different ethnic backgrounds. Most people are either Itauke, native Fijian, of Melanesian and Polynesian roots, or Indo-Fijian, descendants of Indian laborers, brought during British colonial rule. These different groups have blended over generations to create a population that's rich in diversity. This mix of cultures means that Fijian women come in all shapes, shades, and styles. Some have curly hair and broad smiles. Others have long dark hair and delicate features. Some speak in calm tones. Others are bold and expressive. This diversity adds to the charm. It keeps you curious. But let's talk about the myth that often floats around online and in the minds of many male travelers. Island women love foreign men. You'll hear it in forums. You'll hear it from backpackers swapping stories. You might even hear it in the tone of a taxi driver trying to give you advice. But like most things that sound too simple, this idea is both misleading and dangerous. The truth is far more complicated. While it's true that some Fijian women date or even marry foreign men, it's not always because of love or attraction. Sometimes it's about opportunity. In a country where the average income is low and job options are limited, a relationship with a foreigner can seem like a way out. Not necessarily out of the country, but out of hardship. Think about it. A local man might struggle to afford a dinner date or help with rent, but a foreign man spending a few $100s a week is already seen as wealthy. Foreigners show up with nice phones, clean clothes, and sometimes even a car or a rented scooter. That kind of lifestyle stands out, especially in rural towns. It attracts attention, not because people are gold diggers, but because everyone is trying to survive, and comfort looks appealing. This is where things get blurry. It's not about tricking anyone. It's not about fake love. It's about how charm, looks, and kindness slowly turn into a kind of silent currency. A woman might genuinely enjoy a foreign man's company. She might feel safe, cared for, or excited by his stories. But behind that smile, she may also be wondering if he can help her family, pay her bills, or give her a different life. The emotions are real, but so are the needs. Let me tell you a story about a man named Eric, a traveler from Sweden. He met a Fijian woman named Leilani during his second week in the country. She worked at a small beachside cafe. Eric said she was different from anyone he'd ever met, kind, funny, and full of energy. They spent a lot of time together. She showed him around places that tourists never go. She introduced him to her cousins. She cooked for him. She even said, "I've never met anyone like you." Eric thought he had found something special. They laughed together, held hands, took photos. After 2 weeks, she asked if he could help her pay her phone bill, about $30. He didn't think much of it and said yes. A few days later, it was heard. mother's medicine, then school fees for her younger brother, then rent. Eric told himself it was okay. He cared for her. But by the end of the month, he had spent over $600. He started feeling unsure. Was it real, or was he being used? When he finally brought it up, she got quiet. She said, "I thought you understood our life here." He left a few days later, heartbroken, confused, and unsure what the truth really was. Eric's story isn't rare. Many foreign men come to Fiji, meet someone, and end up in a situation where feelings and money start to mix. Sometimes the relationship is mutual and honest, but other times it's based on quiet expectations that were never spoken clearly. That's what makes it hard. No one wants to think they're being used, and no one wants to admit they're using someone. This is how charm becomes currency, and how attention becomes survival. It's not about blaming anyone. Women in Fiji face serious challenges. Many are expected to take care of younger siblings, sick parents, or their own children. Jobs don't pay much and support systems are weak. So when someone kind walks in, who seems able to help, it's natural to get attached. Not just emotionally, but practically. Some women are upfront about it. They'll say, "If you want to be with me, you'll help me." Others never say a word and just wait to see what you'll offer. The silence is part of the culture. Talking directly about money or expectations is often considered rude or embarrassing. But it doesn't mean those expectations aren't there. You'll also meet women who avoid foreigners completely. They've seen what happens. They've seen friends get left behind, promised things that never came. Or worse, they've seen their own feelings used for entertainment, because not all foreign men are kind. Some take advantage of the attention, play with hearts, and then disappear without warning. That's another side of this story. It's not just women using men. It goes both ways. Some men come to Fiji for quick fun, thinking local women are easy or grateful. They hand out compliments, make promises, and leave with no intention of returning. This causes real pain. It makes trust harder. It adds more weight to every new relationship. What makes it more painful is the silence. No one talks openly about these things, not in families, not in schools, not even among friends. The pressure to stay polite, to smile through confusion, to keep feelings inside, it's heavy. And when love mixes with need, and desire mixes with survival, the emotional mess becomes too complex to untangle. So, what should you do if you come to Fiji and meet someone beautiful, kind, and interested in you? Be honest. Be slow. Don't flash money or gifts too early. Don't assume love just because you feel it. Talk more. Listen deeper. Ask questions. And remember, what feels like love can sometimes be relief. And what feels like connection might be quiet desperation. Fijian women are stunning, not just outside, but in spirit. They carry themselves with dignity, even when life is hard. They smile through pain, care for others before themselves, and keep traditions alive. But behind those strong eyes, there's often a world of untold stories, of responsibility, struggle, and quiet dreams of something better. Respect that. Don't romanticize it, and definitely don't turn it into a fantasy. Fiji's beauty hits. Different, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And when you truly see that, you'll realize that real beauty isn't just something to admire. It's something to understand. The nightlife. No one films. When most people think about nightlife in Fiji, they probably imagine live music, beach bars, and maybe a little dancing under the stars. And yes, that exists. You'll find happy hour at tourist resorts, fire shows, and live bands playing reggae and pop covers. But what most tourists don't see, or don't even know exists, is a different kind of nightlife. A much quieter, more secretive side. A side that isn't advertised, isn't talked about openly, and definitely isn't something people post on social media. It lives in whispers and nods, not flyers or Instagram stories. But once you notice it, you realize it's all around you. Fiji has traditional roots. Many people still live by strong cultural rules. Respect for elders, modesty, and strong religious beliefs are taken seriously in villages. Public displays of affection are often frowned upon. In some areas, even wearing revealing clothes can be seen as disrespectful. This creates a culture where people act very polite and quiet during the day, especially around strangers or tourists. But once the sun goes down and the tourists head back to their hotels, something else slowly starts to happen. In big cities like Suva or Nadi, there are regular bars and nightclubs. These places are open to everyone and feel like any other bar scene. Locals and tourists drink together, dance to loud music, and enjoy a good time. But these are just the surface. What most people don't know is that underneath these loud, fun places, there are private parties and quiet scenes that aren't meant for tourists, or at least not all of them. Here's where things get interesting. In many resorts and hotels, there are private rooms or hidden areas where certain guests are offered extra services. These are not official or written down. No signs, no menus. But if you're a certain type of guest, usually a man traveling alone, especially if you're staying long-term, someone might approach you. Maybe it's a staff member, maybe a friendly local, maybe even a fellow traveler. It starts with small talk. Then comes the suggestion. If you're looking for something special, I know someone. It's never said clearly, but you understand. This type of nightlife isn't about music or parties. It's about company. It's about connection, but not always the honest kind. In these scenes, money speaks quietly. It's never called what it is. Some locals refer to it as hosting or arrangement. No one uses words like escort or transaction. But that's what it is, a kind of hidden SX-based hospitality. It's not everywhere, and not everyone is involved, but it exists. And the fact that no one talks about it makes it even more real. Foreign men who stay in Fiji for longer periods often become part of this hidden world. Some of them didn't come looking for it. It just found them. A man from New Zealand told me. At first, I thought she was just being friendly. We talked, laughed, and spent a lot of time together. Then she started asking for help. Rent, phone bills, school fees for her cousin. I didn't mind helping, but I realized later I wasn't the only one. In many cases, these relationships look like normal couples. They go out, take photos, hold hands. But beneath it all, there's a quiet agreement. He pays for things. She stays close. These setups aren't forced. No one is doing anything against their will. But it's not romance in the traditional sense. It's a blend of survival, attention, and quiet deals that never need to be said out loud. A resort worker in Nadi once said, "We know who's here for fun, and who's here for comfort." He didn't explain what that meant. He didn't need to. Everyone around him already understood. Even the locals who aren't part of this nightlife know it exists. They don't talk about it directly, but they notice who's meeting who. They notice who keeps returning. They know which guests are staying alone, but rarely seen eating alone. They watch, they learn, and they say nothing. One local girl told me, "It's not our business. People do what they need to do." That sentence said everything. Some women in Fiji are in these arrangements not because they want to, but because they feel like it's their only choice. Jobs are hard to find. Wages are low. A single mother working as a cleaner in a resort may earn less in a week than a tourist spends in a day. So when someone offers attention, gifts, or support, it becomes hard to say no. It's not about love. It's about survival, and sometimes about hope. But it's not just the women who are part of this unspoken world. Men, too, find themselves in roles they never expected. A Fijian man told me about his cousin who works as a tour guide, but spends most of his time keeping older foreign women company. They go on walks, they eat dinner, they laugh, but at the end of the day, it's not just friendship. He said they want to feel young again, and he needs money, so it works. That's the part that surprised me most. It's not just one-sided. It's not always about foreign men and local women. Sometimes it's older women and younger men. Sometimes it's same-sex connections. Fiji's nightlife, the one no one films, is wide, hidden, and full of stories that never make it to the surface. What keeps it alive is silence. People don't want to talk about it because it challenges the image of Fiji as a wholesome, romantic getaway. It touches on topics that make people uncomfortable: money, power, age, gender, and sex. But just because it's not talked about doesn't mean it's not happening. As one expat said, it's not illegal, it's unspoken. There's a difference. That line stuck with me. Because it's true. Nothing is written. Nothing is forced. But everything is felt. This kind of nightlife doesn't involve loud music or flashy lights. It's quiet. It lives in eye contact, in favors, in carefully chosen words. It happens in hotel rooms, in beach cottages, in private homes that no tourist ever sees. And it's not going away. If anything, it's growing, because the gap between what people want and what they can afford is also growing. So if you ever visit Fiji and find yourself wondering what happens when the sun goes down, know this: what you see is only half the story. The real nightlife, the one no one films, is filled with choices, silence, and stories no one wants to tell out loud. And maybe that's why it stays alive, because everyone knows it's there, but no one wants to be the first to say it out, loud. Pleasure versus poverty. Who's really in control Fiji looks like paradise. But even in paradise, life isn't always fair. When you dig beneath the surface, past the beaches and friendly smiles, you find something harder to talk about: poverty. Not everyone in Fiji is struggling, but many are. And when money is tight, people start making choices they never thought they'd have to make. Some of those choices involve X. Not for fun, not for love, but for survival. The truth is, Fiji has deep economic inequality. On one side, you have resorts charging hundreds of dollars a night, tourists spending more in a week than some locals earn in a month. On the other side, you have waitresses working double shifts for less than $2 an hour, single mothers trying to feed their families, and young people with big dreams and no real way to chase them. In a place where opportunity is limited, SX sometimes becomes a tool, used for leverage, escape, or simply to get by. It's not always obvious, it's not loud or dramatic. Often it's silent, hidden behind kind gestures, soft voices, and fake smiles. People don't call it what it is. But the reality stays the same. When you're poor and out of options, even your body can feel like a currency. Take the story of Mir, a waitress in Nadi. She's 24, supports her siblings, and dreams of studying, nursing. One night, a tourist offered her double her weekly salary for just dinner. She said no. Then he added money for her rent. Then he offered to help with school fees. She agreed, just once. But once became twice. Then it became a pattern. I kept telling myself I had control, she said, but the truth is, I was choosing between bills and dignity. Or look at Joan, a 19-year-old who works at a beach bar. He met an older tourist from Australia, a woman in her 50s. She liked his charm, bought him clothes, and eventually moved him into her rented bungalow. At first, he felt lucky. Free food, no rent, and trips around the island. But over time, she started controlling who he could see, where he could go, and even when he could leave the house. I became like a pet, he told me. I smiled. I entertained, but I felt trapped. Then there's Lytia, just 20 years old, working part-time as a dancer at local shows. Her family doesn't know. They think she's helping at a hotel. She does traditional dances for tourists in the evenings, but after the show, sometimes men offer extra money for private company. She doesn't always say yes, but when her mother was sick and the medicine cost more than she could afford, she did. She told me that night paid for her treatment. But I still cry when I think about it. I felt like I sold something I can't ever get back. These stories aren't rare. They're everywhere. You just have to know where to look. And they're not about people doing bad things. They're about people trying to survive in a system that gives them very little. The tourists don't always see it. They think they're being generous, kind, even helpful. And maybe they are. But when one person holds all the money and the other holds all the needs, that's not equality. That's quiet control. This control doesn't come with shouting or violence. It comes with silence, with small offers, soft manipulation, and emotional games. It looks like a relationship. It feels like love. But often it's just a trade. One person offering comfort, the other offering escape. Neither side says it out loud because that would ruin the illusion. But deep down, both sides know what's really happening. What makes this harder is that people don't talk about it. In Fiji's culture, especially in villages, topics like sex, money, or emotional pain are kept private. There's shame around it. People are expected to stay quiet, to stay strong. So even when someone is suffering, they smile. They carry it alone. That's what makes it so painful. The loneliness. I remember one older resort worker who told me, "We see everything. We see who goes where, with who, and why. But we say nothing, because it's not our place. Because maybe tomorrow it'll be us." That stuck with me. It showed how normal this silence has become. It's not approval, it's acceptance born out of helplessness. And here's the thing, it's not always about money. Sometimes it's about power, about feeling important, about having someone listen, pay attention, or offer something different from the daily struggle. For some, SX becomes a way to feel seen. For others, it becomes the only choice left when everything else has failed. Tourists come and go, but the emotional mess they leave behind stays. A man might fall in love, promise to return, then vanish. A woman might share her story, open her heart, and then be blocked the next day. The damage isn't just financial, it's emotional, and it lasts far longer than the vacation. And now, the part that broke me, the story that still keeps me up at night. It didn't happen at a bar, it happened in a church. There was a young girl named Alice. She sang in the church choir, helped with Sunday school, and was known by everyone in the village. One day, a mission group from another country came to the island. They brought clothes, food, and smiles. One of the men, a tall, kind-looking foreigner in his 40s, offered to sponsor Alice's education. He said she reminded him of his daughter. He gave her money, took photos with her, and spent hours talking to her family. A few weeks later, Alice started disappearing in the evenings. People whispered, but no one asked. Not until her mother found her crying one night, hiding in the back of the house. The man had asked for a private blessing, then more. She had said yes because she didn't want to lose the school money, because she didn't want to disappoint her mother, because she thought she owed him something. When the family tried to speak out, the man had already left the country. No proof, no trail, just pain. The church never addressed it. The village went silent. And Alice stopped singing. That's the part that hurts the most. Not just what happened, but how everyone looked away. Because facing it means facing the truth. That poverty doesn't just take food or comfort. It takes voices. It takes choices. It takes trust. So, who's really in control? On the surface, it looks like the one with money. But sometimes, the one who gives affection also holds power. Sometimes, both people are using each other. Sometimes no one feels in control, just caught in a situation they can't name. In Fiji, pleasure and poverty live side by side. One feeds the other. One hides behind the other. And in between are real people, living real lives, making real sacrifices. This isn't a story about shame. It's a story about survival, about how people adapt when the world doesn't give them options, about how love, lust, pain, and need can all sit in the same room, pretending to be something they're not. Next time you visit a place like Fiji, remember this: not everything that looks like kindness is love. Not every smile is happiness. Not every yes is freedom. And not every heartbreak happens in the dark. Sometimes it happens under a church roof, between hymns and handshakes. And that's the part no one talks about. Tinder in Paradise. A strange game in most parts of the world, dating apps are pretty straightforward. You swipe right if you're interested, left if you're not. You chat, maybe meet for coffee and see where things go. Sometimes it leads to love, sometimes to friendship, and sometimes to nothing at all. But in Fiji, Tinder and other dating apps feel different. It's not just about finding love, it's about what else might come with it. There's a quiet layer of expectation that many foreigners don't see right away. It turns dating into something more like a transaction and less like a romance. At first glance, Tinder in Fiji looks like anywhere else. Profiles with selfies, beach pictures, and bios that say things like fun-loving or just looking to meet new people. But when you start matching and chatting, you quickly realize the vibe isn't quite the same. Conversations start sweet and flirty. People seem open, friendly, and curious. But as things move along, something shifts. Questions start to pop up. Where? Are you staying? How long are you here? Are you traveling alone? Do you have a car? It's not just small talk. It's checking your status. Many Fijians, especially in towns and cities, use dating apps not only to find connections but to explore possibilities. Support, help, opportunity. Some women hope to meet a man who can take care of them or help their families. Some men use the app to connect with older women who might offer financial comfort. It's not always clear at the start, but slowly it starts to show. One foreigner told me about a match who messaged him every day for a week. She asked about his life, his job, and what he liked to eat. She sent voice notes, laughed at his jokes, and called him dear after. Just 3 days. Then one night she asked if he could send her money for phone data so they could keep chatting. He paused. It was only a few dollars. He said yes. The next day, she said her little brother needed school shoes. Then her grandmother needed medicine. When he finally said he couldn't keep helping, the messages stopped. No goodbye, just silence. Another story came from a woman who matched with a local guy who seemed charming and sweet. They met for coffee. He talked about his dreams, about leaving Fiji one day, about finding someone who would help him build a better life. On their third meeting, he asked if she would consider sponsoring him. Just a small monthly amount until I get on my feet. She didn't know what to say. What started as a date had turned into something else entirely. There are also cases where things go the opposite way. Foreigners lead locals on, pretending they're serious, promising support or even marriage, only to vanish after a few weeks. One local girl shared that a man she met on Badoo told her he wanted to marry her, promised to take her to Australia, and even met her family. Then, one morning, he checked out of his hotel and blocked her on every platform. She said, "It wasn't just heartbreak, it was shame. I felt like I was tricked in front of my whole village. It's hard to tell who's using who, because in some cases, both sides are chasing something. One wants comfort, the other wants connection. One offers affection, the other offers money. But when the expectations don't match, things fall apart." Fast. Tinder in Fiji isn't full of scammers. Most people are real. Many are truly looking for someone to care about. But for many locals, dating a foreigner isn't just romance. It's survival. If someone helps you with rent, buys you groceries, or pays your phone bill, it's hard not to feel grateful. That gratitude can turn into affection. But is it real love? Or is it something else? That's where the confusion begins. Foreigners come looking for adventure, stories, maybe even a little fun. They meet someone warm and kind, and things move fast. But soon, money slips into the picture. Not as a demand, but as a suggestion. As a quiet hope. You're not asked directly, but you're expected to offer. And if you don't, the warmth starts to fade. Sometimes people get caught in something they didn't expect. One traveler told me about a girl he matched with who seemed perfect. They clicked instantly. They met for dinner, then again the next day. She never asked for anything, but after a week, she invited him to meet her family. At the house, her mother thanked him for all his help. He hadn't given anything yet. That's when he realized. Everyone already assumed he was there to support them. It wasn't a date. It was a quiet agreement. This isn't about blaming anyone. Life in Fiji can be hard, and people do what they have to do. If an app gives them a chance at something better, who can blame them for trying? But it does mean that foreigners need to understand what they're walking into. If you use Tinder in Fiji, don't expect it to be just like home. Expect things to move fast, to get personal quickly, and to come with quiet expectations that no one says out loud. You might think you're dating. They might think you're saving them. Or they might be saving you. From loneliness, from boredom, from your own need to feel important. Either way, it's rarely simple. Dating apps are just tools. They connect people. But in places where poverty and dreams are tangled, they can also become tools for survival. People swipe not just for fun, but for food, safety, and a little hope. It's not just about who's cute or funny. It's about who might stay, who might help, who might care, at least for a while. Was it a date or an offer? That question lingers. Because in Fiji, the line between romance and arrangement is very thin. And once you step into that space, it's hard to walk back out. So, if you ever open Tinder in paradise, remember this. You're not just swiping for love. You're stepping into a world shaped by quiet hopes, silent struggles, and expectations that don't always show in a bio. Be kind, be clear, and most of all, be ready for something far more complicated than you ever expected. The foreigners who stay and never tell why. There's something strange about Fiji, not just its beauty or the way time seems to move slower, but the way it pulls people in. Some foreigners come for a week, maybe for a vacation, maybe for a short work trip, or maybe just to see what the hype is all about. But then, they stay. Not because of a job or a family emergency. They stay for reasons they can't or won't explain. Ask them why, and most just smile and say something vague like, "I love the peace," or "Life feels better here." But if you watch closely, if you spend time with them, you start to notice something deeper going on. You'll find them in quiet cafes, at the beach during odd hours, or walking slowly through markets like they've lived there forever. Some rent cheap apartments in towns most tourists don't even visit. Some teach English part-time, or help out at hostels for free stays. They blend in, not like locals, but not like travelers either. They're stuck in between, living halfway lives that don't quite fit anywhere. Many of these men didn't plan to stay. They landed in Fiji with a return ticket. But then something about this place made them stay longer. It could be the calm pace, the affordability, the sunshine, or even the feeling of being noticed. Because the truth is, many of them weren't noticed back home. They felt invisible. Too old, too tired, too ordinary. But in Fiji, people smile at them, ask about their day, start conversations. It's easy to feel seen here, especially when you're foreign. But that attention comes with a price. Because when people see you as foreign, They also see you as someone with money. Even if you don't feel rich in a country where the average monthly income is low, just using a smartphone or buying coffee every day makes you look well off. That creates a silent shift in power. And sometimes it's hard to know if people are being nice to you or nice to your wallet. One man I met, named Peter, came from the UK. He visited Fiji after retiring early and stayed in a guest house near the beach. He said he planned to stay a week. It's been 3 years. When I asked him why he never went back, he laughed and said, "It's just better here." But later, after a few drinks, he admitted, "Back home, I felt invisible. Here, I get invited to dinner, people remember my name, and yes, the women talk to me. It feels good. Even if it's not all real, it feels better than being alone." Peter isn't alone. There are many like him, men in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, who settle into this island life quietly. They don't make a fuss. They don't make announcements. They just stay. Some are single, some are divorced. Some are running from problems, others just want a break. But most of them never say the full reason why they didn't leave. Because maybe they're not sure themselves. Language barriers aren't much of a problem here. English is widely spoken, especially in towns and tourist areas. That makes it easier for foreigners to connect, even if the conversations stay shallow. As for visas, most visitors can stay for 4 months without any big problems. And even when that runs out, many find ways to stay longer. Border runs, marriage, volunteer work, or simply overstaying quietly in places where no one checks. Then, there's the unspoken benefit: attention. In Fiji, especially in smaller towns, being foreign still carries weight. You're treated differently. People want to know your story, want to be around you, want to make you feel welcome. And for someone who felt ignored or tired back home, that's addictive. It's easy to confuse kindness with care and respect with love. But the hard part is realizing that this attention sometimes comes with quiet strings attached. One foreigner said something that stuck with me. Fiji gives you attention until you start asking real questions. At first, everyone seems open and warm. But once you try to understand the deeper side, the poverty, the social rules, the silent deals, people become quiet. They change. The subject. They smile, but with less warmth. That's when you realize you're not really part of the inner circle. You're a guest. Always a guest. There's emotional tension in that space. Feeling welcomed, but also slightly used. Feeling needed, but not fully trusted. Some foreigners try to ignore it. They stay on the surface. They enjoy the drinks, the smiles, the slow mornings. Others dig deeper and often feel more confused. Because the same people who laugh with you during the day may avoid hard topics at night. The same person who holds your hand may also be waiting for you to pay the electricity bill. It's hard to tell if you're loved or tolerated, if you're part of something real or just filling a role. Some of the men who stay get into quiet relationships with locals. These relationships can feel genuine, but they're rarely equal. The foreigner usually pays for everything: rent, groceries, sometimes even school fees for the partner's relatives. That's not always a problem. Some are happy to help, but over time it can create a strange dynamic. One man told me, "She never asked for anything, but if I ever stopped giving, I don't know if she'd stay." That kind of doubt is hard to live with, and still, they stay, even when it's not perfect, even when they feel unsure. Why? Because going back is harder. Back home, they feel like no one's waiting. Life is expensive, cold, and fast. In Fiji, time moves slower. People say hello. Food is affordable. And even if the attention isn't always real, it feels better than silence. This doesn't mean everyone staying is being used or using others. Some find real friendships, even love. Some build businesses, help communities, and become part of something meaningful. But many simply exist in the quiet middle, comfortable but uncertain, and none of them really talk about it. Ask them why they stayed, and they'll talk about the weather, the beach, the people, but they won't talk about the loneliness they escaped, or the emotional needs they filled, or the silent deals they made to feel like they mattered. Fiji becomes a place where they don't have to explain themselves, where they can be someone else, or maybe finally just be themselves. So next time you see a foreigner sitting alone at a small cafe in Fiji, looking completely relaxed, just remember, he may have come for a week, but what he found made him stay. And the reason? He'll probably never say it out loud. Simple life. Markets, meals, mothers away from the flashy resorts and tourist bars, there's a side of Fiji that feels softer, slower, and more honest. It's not about parties or fancy beachside cocktails, it's about daily life, the kind of life most tourists never see. The quiet heart of Fiji beats in its markets, kitchens, and the strong hands of women who hold families together. This is where real life happens, and it's where you understand the soul of the country, not through noise, but through small, meaningful moments. Every morning, in towns and villages across Fiji, local markets start to come alive. They're not big or polished, but they're full of color and movement. Fresh vegetables laid out on woven mats, piles of ripe mangoes, bananas hanging from ropes, and fish still wet from the ocean catch. The smell of fresh bread mixes with the scent of fried food and burning firewood. Women sell bundles of leafy greens for a few coins. Men sit behind tables of coconuts and taro. Kids run between stalls, laughing and helping their parents. The market is not just where people shop, it's where they talk, connect, and share small stories that hold their day together. Then there's the kitchen, the true center of the Fijian home. It's usually simple, sometimes just a small space behind the house or a separate cooking hut with a wood fire and metal pots. And standing in that space, almost always, is a woman. A mother, a grandmother, an older sister. She moves with confidence, washing vegetables, cutting fish, stirring soup, all while watching the children and answering questions without stopping her work. She doesn't rush. She doesn't complain. She just keeps the home running, one task at a time. Meals in Fiji are not rushed affairs. They are moments where family comes together. Breakfast is often light. Tea, bread, maybe some fresh fruit. Lunch and dinner are heartier. Plates of boiled cassava or taro, bowls of coconut milk soup, and fried fish placed on banana leaves. In some homes, everyone eats with their hands. People sit on mats, cross-legged, passing dishes around. There's laughter, teasing, and quiet moments of sharing. No one eats alone. Even if there's not much food, it's enough, and it's offered with pride. Children play a big role in this world. They help in small ways. Peeling vegetables, washing dishes, fanning the fire. It's not forced labor. It's part of growing up in a home that teaches responsibility early. A little girl might be feeding chickens while her brother carries firewood. A teenager might be looking after 3 younger siblings while her parents are working. These tasks build a sense of duty and unity. In Fiji, the family is more than just people you live with. It's the team that keeps you alive, and the women. They are the foundation. They are strong, not because they lift weights or run companies, but because they carry so much on their shoulders without ever showing the strain. They raise kids, cook, clean, work, support their husbands, and still make time to care for neighbors or host guests. Many of them smile through tired eyes, knowing their role is often underappreciated but still essential. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're just surviving with grace. But even in this warmth and community, there's a quiet contrast that hits you when you least expect it. You'll have fried fish on banana leaves, sitting beside a grandmother who jokes while cooking over. An open flame. You'll watch children dance to a radio as they sweep the yard, happy with almost nothing. And then, just a few streets away, you'll see a teenage girl, dressed too old for her age, wearing makeup and tight clothes, stepping into a car with a much older man. She might not be going to a party, she might be going to earn money, and suddenly the peace in your chest turns to a tightness you can't explain. Because this is the other side of the simple life. It's beautiful, but it's also hard. People share what they have, but what they have is often not enough. Girls grow up too fast. Boys drop out of school to help with bills. Mothers skip meals, so their children can eat. Grandmothers raise grandchildren while their daughters work in hotels or clean houses for tourists. The smiles remain, but behind them are sacrifices no one talks about. In many homes, the only steady income comes from one person, and that money has to stretch for rent, food, school, medicine, and everything else. That's why people grow what they can, fish when the weather is good, and depend on each other. Community becomes the safety net, and women are often the ones who hold those threads together. Even in hardship, there's dignity. A woman will serve you tea even if she can't afford sugar. A boy will offer to carry your bag not because he expects a tip, but because he was raised to help. A grandmother will press food into your hand, saying, "Eat," before feeding herself. It's not about showing off. It's about making sure no one feels alone or forgotten. And when you experience this side of Fiji, the simple meals, the handmade brooms, the children who laugh louder than your camera can capture, you realize something important. This is not poverty. It's not failure. It's life, stripped of excess, built on sharing and fueled by quiet strength. These people may not have much, but what they have, they give, and they give it with heart. Still, the contrast remains. One moment, you're welcomed into a home with nothing but love. The next, you're faced with a scene that reminds you how unfair life can be. A young girl working too hard, an old man sitting alone because his children moved away, a mother hiding her tears because the rent is due and there's no money left. Fiji's simple life is full of joy, but it's not without pain. It teaches you that peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of love in the middle of them. That even when life is tough, people can still be kind. And that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's just a woman stirring soup with one hand while rocking a baby with the other. So if you ever come to Fiji, don't just visit the resorts. Walk into the markets, accept that cup of tea. Sit with the mother who offers you lunch before feeding herself. Watch the kids, who smile without needing screens or toys. Let them show you the real Fiji. The one that lives in their hands, their laughter, and their small shared moments. Because behind the postcards, the real story of Fiji is written in the hearts of its people. Especially the women, especially the mothers. 3 stories. I can't forget. Travel teaches you many things. You learn about places, people, and yourself. But every once in a while you hear or live through a story that sticks with you. A story that doesn't leave your head, no matter how much time passes. Fiji gave me a few of those. Some were strange, some were emotional, some were painful. But all of them taught me something about human nature. How trust can be broken, how kindness can be twisted, and how quickly things can change. Let me start with the first one. I met a guy from Australia, let's call him Liam. He was in his early 30s, traveling alone, looking to disconnect from the stress of his city job. One day, while walking near the harbor, he was approached by a local man offering a free boat ride to visit a nearby island that tourists usually didn't get to see. It sounded great. The man was polite, knew a lot about the area, and seemed genuine. Liam agreed, thinking he was in for a relaxing trip. The man brought him to a small motorboat with 2 other locals already waiting. They smiled, chatted in Fijian, and helped him aboard. Everything seemed okay at first. The boat moved smoothly. The views were amazing. After about 20 minutes, they stopped near a tiny beach. But instead of letting him out, one of the men said they needed money for fuel to return. Liam was confused. It wasn't part of the plan. He tried to laugh it off. Then one of the men stood up and calmly said, "No fuel, no way back." They didn't threaten him directly. They didn't pull a weapon. But the message was clear. Liam was far from the main island with no phone signal on a boat he didn't control. Feeling trapped, he handed over about $150 in Fijian dollars, more than enough for fuel. The men smiled again, started the engine, and dropped him back exactly where they picked him up. The whole thing took less than 2 hours. Liam was safe, unharmed, but shaken. "I didn't feel scared," he told me later. "I felt stupid." That's what stuck with him, not the money, but the trust he gave too easily. The second story came from a local I met through a friend. Her name was Mariani, but online she went by Lonnie Blue. On Instagram, she looked like a model. Perfect photos at the beach, dinner at nice restaurants, new clothes, perfect makeup, luxury filters. She had about 30,000 followers, mostly men from other countries. They flooded her comments with compliments and hearts. Some even sent her money. "Just to support your dreams," they said. But in real life, she was living a very different life. She worked part-time at a clothing store and shared a small house with her 2 younger sisters and her grandmother. The dresses she wore in photos were borrowed from friends or bought second-hand. The meals she posted were rarely hers, just food from restaurant displays she snapped quickly. Her phone was an old model with a cracked screen. The filters did the rest. I asked her once why she kept up the image. She told me, "It's the only way people pay attention. If I show my real life, no one cares." She wasn't lying for fun. She was building a version of herself that gave her hope. She said that when she posts, she feels powerful, important, wanted. Even if it's fake, it feels better than being ignored. One day, a man from Singapore messaged her offering to fly her out for a photo shoot. She was excited. Finally, something real. But when she arrived at the hotel where they agreed to meet, she realized it wasn't about modeling. He wanted something else. When she said no, he got angry, called her a liar, and told her she had wasted his money. She left in tears. "I wasn't lying," she said to me. "I just wanted to be seen." It broke my heart, not because she tricked someone, but because she felt that her real self wasn't enough for the world to care. That's a kind of pain most people never notice. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. The third story didn't happen to me, and it didn't happen to someone I knew personally, but it's the one that haunts me the most. A few years ago, there was a foreign man staying in one of the islands. He told people he was a volunteer, helping with school programs and food distribution. Everyone liked him. He was friendly, respectful, generous. He would often bring gifts for children, help mothers carry heavy bags, and speak kindly in public meetings. One day, a young girl went missing. She was last seen near the area where the man was helping. At first, no one connected the dots, but when she didn't come home for 2 days, people started asking questions. Then whispers turned into concerns. The man was questioned, then released. But a few days later, he left the island without a word. That's when someone found the girl, frightened, shaken, but alive. She said the man offered her food, then kept her inside a room for a day. He didn't hurt her physically, but he scared her, told her not to talk, said she'd ruin everything if she told anyone. She was only 12. The village didn't report it publicly. There was no police case, no media. It was handled quietly, through elders and whispers. No one wanted to bring shame to the community, but people still talk about it, in low voices, with sad eyes. The man's name never appears on any list. He's probably back in his home country, living freely. This story makes me feel sick, because while the other 2 were about confusion and personal pain, this one was about betrayal in the worst way. A man came pretending to help, then used that trust to hurt the most innocent person in the village, and because of shame and silence, he walked away untouched. Fiji, like many places, has its dark corners. The pain doesn't always scream. Sometimes it hides behind kindness. Sometimes it wears a smile. But it's there. What hurts the most is that people here are not naive. They know the risks, but they also know they can't always say no. Not when there's money involved. Not when there's hope. And not when saying no could mean losing something they can't afford to lose. So these stories stay quiet, shared only with people who won't judge, who won't report, who will just listen and carry the weight silently. And that's where I come in. I don't tell these stories for drama. I tell them because they're real, because someone lived through them, and because silence protects the wrong people. 3 stories. One about trust taken for granted. One about a girl trying to feel seen. And one about a child who learned fear too young. And the one story that still haunts me isn't even mine. After spending time in Fiji, after hearing the stories, meeting the people, and watching life unfold from the quiet corners, not the tourist brochures, I walked away with something much deeper than I ever expected. I came here with questions about travel, money, and maybe even the secret nightlife. But what Fiji gave me wasn't just answers. It gave me perspective. At first, it felt simple. I thought I was just exploring a cheap country where $500 could get you far and the beaches were beautiful. I thought I'd meet friendly people, take some great photos, and leave with good memories. But that's not what happened. Instead, Fiji slowly opened itself to me. Not all at once, but piece by piece. And each piece taught me something new. Not just about the place, but about myself and the world we live in. Fiji isn't just about sex or saving money. That's part of the story, sure, but it's not the core. The real lesson is about how people live in the in-between, between dreams and survival, between tradition and modern life, between kindness and need. People here are trying to live with dignity in a world that doesn't always offer them fair chances. And when you see that, you stop judging. You start listening. I met women who smiled through pain, who made meals out of nothing and still offered me a plate. I met young men who carried heavy responsibilities but laughed as if the world wasn't on their shoulders. I saw families who had so little but gave so much. And I saw others who had been hurt, used, or forgotten, but still showed up every day with quiet strength. That kind of strength doesn't come from money. It comes from heart. The people who live here don't need pity. They don't want saving. They want understanding. They want to be seen not just as beautiful or poor, but as full people, with feelings, fears, and hopes. They want space to tell their stories without being judged. And maybe that's what hit me the hardest, realizing how many of us never truly listen. As a traveler, it's easy to look at a place and just see what you want to see. The sunset, the beach, the adventure. But Fiji reminded me that every beautiful place has shadows. Behind every photo is a person. Behind every smile is a story. And sometimes, behind those stories are things you weren't ready to hear, but need to. One of the biggest things I learned here is that survival isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like silence. It looks like a teenager working 2 jobs. It looks like a woman agreeing to a dinner she doesn't want. It looks like someone saying yes because no costs too much. These moments are quiet, but they're real. And they're happening every day, all around us. Another thing I learned, help isn't always helpful. Coming in with money, with promises, with big ideas. It can cause more harm than good if you don't understand the deeper needs. Sometimes people just want to be respected. Sometimes they want you to sit with them, eat with them, hear them, not fix them. Fiji taught me that presence matters more than power, that being honest matters more than being rich. And finally, I learned about beauty. Fiji is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. But its real beauty isn't just the ocean or the palm trees. It's in the people. It's in their strength, their warmth, and their silence. But beauty can also blind you. It can make you ignore pain. It can make you forget to ask questions. I came here thinking I was looking at paradise. I left realizing that paradise doesn't mean perfect. It just means complex in a beautiful disguise. So, what did Fiji really teach me? It taught me that everyone is carrying something you can't see, that kindness can hide pain, that poverty can wear a smile, that people will let you in, but only if you're ready to see the full picture, not just the part that makes you feel good. It taught me that respect means more than money, that silence doesn't always mean agreement, that just because something isn't spoken doesn't mean it isn't felt. It taught me to slow down, to ask better questions, and to let people show me who they are instead of deciding for them. And maybe most of all, Fiji taught me that travel isn't about collecting moments. It's about connecting to people. And that sometimes the biggest lessons come not from the things you planned, but from the things you never saw coming. Beauty can blind you. But here, it taught me to see things I used to ignore. So now, take a moment, go ahead, open a new tab and search Fiji travel. Look at the results: beaches, resorts, honeymoon packages, 5-star reviews. Everything looks perfect. But now, ask yourself, why doesn't anyone talk about this other side? Why are the real stories, the ones that matter, missing from the travel blogs and Instagram feeds? Why is the struggle hidden behind the palm trees? And if it's so perfect, why do so many people leave Fiji with more questions than answers? You've just seen a part of Fiji that most people never will, a side that tourists aren't shown and travel companies don't talk about. You've heard the truth, the kind that lives in small homes, in tired eyes, in late-night messages asking for help. You've seen how life looks when beauty and poverty live side by side. And now, it's your turn to respond. Would you last a month in Fiji on $500? Or would it change you forever? Would you live in a place where comfort is cheap, but emotions are expensive? Would you open yourself to people who welcome you with smiles, but carry stories they're too afraid to share? Would you feel at peace or lost? Powerful or quietly ashamed? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear your honest thoughts. What surprised you the most? What made you feel uncomfortable? And if you've been to Fiji, did you notice any of this, or did it all stay hidden? And one more thing, send this video to that one friend. You know the one. The guy who thinks he's seen it all because he's been to Europe, partied in Thailand, or posted beach pics from Bali. Send it to the girl who thinks travel means just eating new food and taking selfies with strangers. Send it to anyone who still believes every postcard tells the full story, because the truth is, most people haven't seen this side. And maybe they need to. Maybe we all do. So don't just watch this video. Share it. Talk about it. Let it sit with you for a while, because Fiji isn't just a travel destination. It's a mirror. And now that you've looked into it, what do you see? Next time, we're heading somewhere even more surprising. A place where SX isn't hidden behind closed doors. It's out in the open, part of the culture, accepted by most, and sometimes even expected. But here's the twist. Love? That's where things get complicated. Public affection is fine. Casual encounters are normal. But real emotional connection? That's where people start to panic. It's a country where SX is easy, but trust is rare. Think you've seen everything? Wait until you see this. Any guesses where we're going? Next, drop them in the comments below.